Good afternoon and happy official start of summer. I'm Christina Felchlin, Director of Consulting Services with Ledgeview Partners, and I'd like to welcome you to today's Dynamics CRM 365 User Group webinar. For our agenda today, we're going to start out the webinar on one last Dynamics 365 feature called Relationship Insights. Then we're going to move into the new Outlook app. Mike will talk about prerequisites, what it does versus the Outlook client, and other general information on the app. Then we'll get to your pre-submitted questions. And then we'll close out the webinar with more information on next month's webinar, as well as one coming up at the end of the month. For housekeeping, to ensure the best audio quality for all attendees, we have everyone in listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit it in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up offline or include it in an upcoming webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on Thursday. All registered attendees will receive an email with an access link to the recording as well as the presentation slides. Now, to get to today's featured topic, I'll turn over to Michael Dodds, Support Consultant with Ledgeview Partners.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Christina. Hope everyone is doing great on this sunny day, at least here in Wisconsin. We got a lot of great topics to get to, so let's jump on in. So what's new in Dynamics 365? This is our third part of this and our last part. We're going to jump into Relationship Insights. Now, Relationships Insights is a preview feature for Dynamics 365. This means it's kind of like in beta. They haven't fully committed to it yet, and then you have to agree to terms and conditions in order to use it. It's not just an available feature. So please note that within the system settings, under the preview section, this is where you would initially authorized to be able to use Relationship Insights. Now, there's a few different ways you can use Relationship Insights, and it's kind of based off of your current setup between whether you're online or on-premise and whether you use Exchange Online or an on-premise Exchange server. So if you're Dynamics 365 online with using Exchange Online, you can use Relationship Assistant, which simply analyzes your daily actions and your communications, and then it generates these action cards based off of what you do throughout your daily life. And these action cards can be visible all the way down to the record level. Email engagement. This is going to allow you to send more effective emails and see how your customers interact with your emails. So for example, a lot of people always wonder, hey, I really would like to know if they opened my email or if they clicked on the link. And sometimes there's some third-party features that are used to gather that information. Email engagement will give you that information right off the bat, which is really, really helpful. And then auto capture, which analyzes your messages in Exchange and then provides you information. So for example, if an email comes in and Relationship Insights analyzes it and they realize, oh, this could be a lead opportunity, they can generate an action card saying, hey, this email has a potential lead, and it will notify you of it in your dashboards. Now, for auto capture, there's a couple of caveats. Your IT department must approve the user's email address to allow queries against Exchange. And also, if you want to track any of those incoming email messages, you must have server-side sync set up. Now, if you're on Dynamics 365 online, but you're using an on-premise Exchange, you are limited to only being able to use Relationship Assistant and email engagement. The reason you can't use auto capture is because it's analyzing your Exchange information. If you're on-premise, it's not going to be able to do that. Now, with Relationship Assistant, it's not going to include the Exchange cards, which are simply the action cards that are based on the analysis of your email messages. So those action cards that I kind of mentioned about auto capture, they kind of go hand in hand. And then you can also do email engagement still. Couple caveats on email engagement. For followed email attachment, so you're following a message with an email attachment, OneDrive for Business must be available in Dynamics 365, and your document management for email must also be enabled. And for delivery of time recommendations from the system, based on the recipient's time zones, you must enable Bing Maps because that's how it determines what time zone it's in. And if you're in Dynamics 365 on-premise, so regardless of how your Exchange is set up, you're only going to be able to use the Relationship Assistant and then only the base cards. And that's just as of right now. Again, it's a preview, so there could be enhancements to this, but this is how it stands today. The base cards are really for the core features of Dynamics 365. So, your opportunity close date is coming up soon. You have an activity that is due today. You have a meeting today. You happen to miss an opportunity close date, so your estimated close date is past due. And then also post-meeting follow-up. Now, to turn on Relationship Insights, you want to navigate to Settings, Relationship Insights. This is where you can turn on Relationship Assistant, Auto Capture, and Email Engagement. And then you can further configure the Relationship Assistant on base cards, Exchange cards, Relationship Analytic cards, Productivity cards, and what's called Today cards. So let's jump into 365, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So what you're going to do is you're going to navigate to Settings and then Relationship Insights. And here's your three right at the top: Relationship Assistant, Auto Capture, Email Engagement. As you can see, you can turn each one of these on or off right in the system here. Now your base cards, this is where, okay, I have a close date coming soon, so close opportunity. Days, this is basically saying how many days before the estimated close date of an opportunity do you want to let me know? And you can set it right here. Then you can turn all of these on or off. And then for your email cards for Exchange, you can do where a competitor is mentioned. You can either set a card, or you can just say do this automatically instead of showing me the card. Same thing with stakeholder recommendation. Relationship analytics, this is basically all of these is no activity for an account, case, contact, lead, or opportunity. So what you're basically telling the system is how many days before have there been no activity before you let me know. So 30 days, 7, you can set that to whatever you'd like it to be. And then email engagement, you really can't, tweak those. It's email opened and email reminder. Productivity cards, nearby customers, relevant news, and today cards, any recent meetings. And then this is where the analytics comes in, the today's top people, today's top records. Now, Relationship Assistant, I'm going to jump into the system and show you what a Relationship Assistant looks like. What Relationship Assistant does, however, is it analyzes the actions you take on a daily basis in your communications, takes that information, and then shows you what's important for today and how to make your communications more effective. After it analyzes this information, it generates action cards that are shown on 365 on mobile and then in dashboards on the web. Now, one thing we did notice is that this was really built more for mobile, so you can really scroll through all of your action cards in mobile, where on the dashboard it's really only showing you 3 at a time. It does go down to a record level, so when you're in a specific record, you'll see cards that are specific to that record or a child record. So an opportunity, that's past due is going to show on your account. 365 will also remind you of upcoming activities and will analyze your communications and suggest when to reach out to an out-of-touch contact. So somebody that you haven't contacted in a while. And it also alerts you when important opportunities are nearing their close date, based on kind of what we showed you in the preview section of configuring. So I'm going to show you 2 different areas, the dashboard. So if we go to Sales, Dashboards, you're going to be able to see 3 different action cards right at the top here. And it's going to scroll across for us. So this one is an email engagement card. This is saying, hey, Tom Lemeron opened up my email. Now I can either open up Tom Lemeron's record, or I can open up the email right from here. I can snooze this, or I can simply close out the action card. This is the auto capture. This is where it's analyzing my email messages and saying, hey, there's a potential lead here. It looks like they're interested in services. So based on what Tom's writing here, it's analyzed it and said, hey, they're interested in some services. Let's get in touch with them. And then here's a relationship assistant card. This is kind of a base card. You have a task due today, so it's follow up with Tom at Ledgeview. You can either complete it, close it, or jump into your task. So if you click on the task, it'll take you into the information. Here's the task. The other item is if we go into Alpine Ski House, so we click on one of our recently viewed accounts, we see our relationship assistant. It'll either show the top two, or we can just click into assistant, and then we'll give us a list. This is showing these opportunities are past their close date, their estimated close date. And these ones don't have a lot of specific information just because this is a demo org, but it would list specific information. And then you can also see, which is really neat, you can see under Wingtip Toys, an opportunity that's going to be closing soon. So this clearance purchase, it's scheduled to close on Tuesday, July 4th. This is just simply a nice, quick way of reminding you, and then you can open the opportunity. Email engagement. This is really where it allows you to send more effective emails. So you can choose a content template to send. You can also receive recommendations for specific templates based on reply and open rates. Like I touched on before, you can see how your contacts are interacting with your emails. You know, did they open an attachment? Did they open the email? Click a link, send a reply. It's going to give you that information as well. You can view the status and history of a followed message. The current status and the most recent interaction is going to be on the activities list, but that list can be expanded to see the full history. You can also write an email and then schedule it for a later delivery. And you can also set a reminder for yourself to follow up on a specific message. This is going to be shown as an action card to you. And then auto capture. This simply analyzes your messages directly in Exchange, looks for relevant information, and then it shows you those relevant messages in Dynamics 365, like we showed you, saying, hey, they're interested in a product. You can also track those messages in 365, making them available to your entire sales team. That's a possibility using Relationship Insights auto capture. All tracked messages in Dynamics 365 are available to the Relationship Insights features. Again, this is dependent on what you have configured. So that's all for the new feature of Relationship Insights. Next, we're going to jump into the Outlook app. What Microsoft was seeing was that the Outlook client wasn't available on mobile, it wasn't available online. Mac users weren't able to use the Outlook client, so they were seeing a need of being able to address some of those issues. And also that it was a very, very big plugin affecting your Outlook client. So they created a lighter footprint app with a lot of great benefits and features. But it is a lighter footprint, so there are still certain things that it will not be able to do. So I'm going to jump into some prerequisites and then go into some features and benefits. Prerequisites, and the biggest one is you have to utilize server-side sync to process your incoming emails. We, however, recommend processing incoming and outgoing emails, and then also your appointments, contacts, and tasks, processing all of that through server-side sync. We've seen the best results that way. Now, if you're an on-premise Exchange, you want to make sure you're on at least 2013, and then there is a specific version that if we work with you to set up, on-premise Exchange with server-side sync, there needs to be a specific 2013 server edition. But it is possible to set it up with server-side sync. And for online, if you're an online customer, online Dynamics, you need to have CRM 2016 update or newer, not just CRM 2016. It has to be the update or newer. And then for on-premise, you can actually do 2015 or newer. However, we highly, highly recommend not doing it unless you're on 2016 or newer. Then there's some security settings that you want to set up before you try to configure the app. Specifically, you need at least user read-write access to the following areas. Now, user, in the security settings, it's a dot, and then you slowly fill it in. The first one where it's a little triangle, yellow triangle filling in a quarter of the dot, that's the user setting, the user level. And this needs to be on mailbox, which is under the business management tab. And then under the customization tab, the entity, field, relationship, system application metadata, system form, user application metadata, and view. I hope none of you are scrambling to write this down. We do make these slideshows available afterwards, so this information will be available afterwards for you to be able to see. There's also a Use Dynamics 365 app for Outlook node. This is at the bottom of the Business Management tab. You want to set this to the organization level, which means completely filled in green. That's the only option. It's either on or off. Once you have these prerequisites filled out and the security settings done, then you can deploy the app. In just a minute, we're going to jump into the app and I'll show you how to deploy it. The steps to take are to navigate to Settings and then Dynamics 365 app for Outlook. You can click Add App for all eligible users. So anybody in that list of eligible users, just click the one button that's going to start adding the app for every single one. Or if you only want specific people to have it because you want to test it first, check mark their names and then click Add App to Outlook. You can also set the system to automatically add or remove the app based on the eligibility for the app. So if they become no longer eligible, remove it. If they become eligible, add the app. Let's jump into 365. So if we go under Sales and we go to Settings, Dynamics 365 app for Outlook. And then you can see here, it's only one user, so they are the eligible users. So you see how nothing's checked? I can just click Add App for all eligible users, or I can check mark them and then Add App to Outlook. What you want to do is wait until this is green added to Outlook. If not, if it goes red, then it's probably telling you there's an error and you can review what the error is. The other settings that are available, there is the capability, again, to set it to automatically add or remove the app for Outlook. So jumping back into our presentation, I want to go through some of the advantages of the app versus the Outlook client. Now, tracking and setting regarding emails, you can still do in both. Now, track and set regarding for appointments, however, still can be done in both, but there is a small caveat. It does not work on Macs, and you cannot use it at this time on mobile Outlook on the web. You can also track and set regard contacts, but this is a really new feature and only available on the desktop Outlook 2016, and there is a specific version that we'll get to on the next slide. It doesn't work on OWA, which is considered the Outlook web application, phone, or Mac. They are looking to go to tablets. This is just some information that we've received recently that it's going to be available in 2017, but again, it hasn't officially been released that that's happening, but they are moving to do that. But at this time, tablet's not available. You cannot track and set regard tasks in the app. You can in the Outlook client, though. You could do one-click set regarding, so it's going to show you an account. You just one-click right to set regard that email. It'll show a summary of the recipient. This is something Outlook client doesn't do. It's going to show you the regarding record summary that are regarding the email and the appointment. So again, something that isn't done in the Outlook client. It works on Outlook on the web, so considered OWA, your Office 365 mail. That's OWA. So it works there, works on your desktop, works on Mac, and works on phones. There's a few little areas that I'm going to touch on the next screen just so you're not blindsided by anything. You can open and create Microsoft Dynamics 365 records directly. This is in both app and the client. You can apply custom forms and business logic. You cannot work offline, which is actually not a bad thing. Working offline comes with its own issues. You can apply email templates, sales literature, knowledge articles right to emails, and you can monitor the email after being sent. That is something that cannot be done in the Outlook client, so that's a really cool feature. 3 things that it doesn't do, however, is sort, filter, format, group, and categorize views, so really no changing of views. Creating Word mail merge documents and controlling field synchronizations. Those are all unique to the Outlook client. Now for the Outlook app, if you're on Dynamics 365 Exchange Online and Exchange Online, you can track emails, track composed emails, track appointments, and track contacts. The only caveat to if you're online for both 365 and Exchange, to track contacts, your desktop Outlook, so desktop client, must be this version or later. Now, if you're Dynamics 365 on-premise, Service Pack 2 update, and Exchange Online, you can do all of the same information. And if you're tracking the contacts, again, Outlook 2016, it has to be this version or newer. So right here. If you're Dynamics 365 online, but you're on-premise Exchange, or you're Dynamics 365 on-premise and Exchange Server 2013-2016, there's a couple of caveats. You can do everything, but if you want to track composed emails and attachments, composed emails and appointments, I apologize, it requires Exchange Server 2013, CU14, or Exchange Server 2016. Now, for tracking contacts, you have to be Server 2016 CU3, and in that particular Outlook desktop version. So just a couple things to keep in mind. That's all for our main topics today. Next, we're going to jump into a couple questions. Our first question is how to track contacts using the Outlook client. Great question. Tracking contacts within the Outlook client, and this is not the app, this is the client, so the plugin. You want to click on the people section in Outlook, and this is going to show your people. Now I want to take a step back here, and I want to explain kind of how the client works. When you have the synchronization for your tasks, contacts, and appointments, and you're doing that through the Outlook client, whenever you have that synchronization, if there's new contacts in CRM, it's going to pull them down into Outlook. If you track or set parent to a contact in Outlook, it's going to push that information up into CRM. The danger here is if you have a contact already in CRM and you push an Outlook contact into CRM, you now have 2 of the same contact in CRM, and then you need to merge. So keep that in mind. So what you want to do is click on the people section to track a contact from Outlook client into CRM. Click on a contact. If you click track, all you're doing is pulling the contact into CRM, just like when you track an email. It's not associating it to anything, it's just putting it in CRM. We recommend doing set parent, because what this does is it pulls the contact into CRM and it allows you to set the associated account or a parent contact. And what that means is, kind of like when you have an account and a parent account, it's the same thing for contact. You're setting it as a hierarchy where this contact is the parent to the contact that you're adding into CRM. It can be very confusing. The main thing to take from this is if you're trying to move a contact into CRM and you set the parent to be a contact, it's not just associating those 2 records. It's setting a parental relationship. Our last question is, CRM allows tracking of emails. How do you tie these to a specific project lead rather than individuals when more than one project is associated with a single individual? So think of this as like an account with opportunities. An account can have several opportunities. How do you pick the opportunity that you want it to be applied to or associated to? When you click the Set Regarding button, it's going to pull up a lookup field, which is this box right down here. All you want to do is click this little drop-down arrow where it says Account for Look For, set it to Project or Opportunity or whatever entity you'd like to track this to. and then search for your specific record, check mark the record, click add. Now it's associated to that specific record in that entity.
All right. Thank you, Michael, for sharing that awesome content. I'd like to ask you to join us for next month's webinar on document management integration. Michael will be sharing his knowledge of SharePoint, OneDrive, and OneNote integration with Dynamics. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, July 19th. Remember, if you cannot attend live, please register and we will email you a link to the on-demand recording and presentation slides. We also have another great webinar in the month of June. Please join us on Tuesday, June 27th for Driving Growth with Marketing Automation. Our Director of Marketing, Chad Collette, will provide tips to effectively align sales and marketing with marketing automation, info on how to drive sales growth with targeted lead nurturing programs, and strategies and best practices to harness the power of marketing automation. On behalf of myself, Michael, and all of us at Ledgeview, we thank you for taking the time to attend our user group webinar today. Have a great day and enjoy your summer.